Ladies and gentlemen, hello. Welcome to the second day of the Euromoney and Global Capital Virtual Vienna Forum, virtual for 2021. Delighted to introduce as our opening speaker for the day, keynote interviewee. I'm going to be asking her some questions, Lilyana Pavlova, who is Vice President and member of the Management Committee at the European Investment Bank. Lilyana, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. It's really my pleasure to join you, and Happy New Year to all.
And Happy New Year to you and to everybody else who's watching this. So by its very nature, the European Investment Bank is a long-term institution. It's designed to build long-term infrastructure, finance long-term infrastructure projects. So what were the biggest difficulties last year in reacting to something that was completely new, sudden, and required immediate action?
Well, clearly, one of the biggest challenges was to adapt and to react to the circumstances that we were all facing, and that were unprecedented to all of us, as we all were confronted with really shifting to new reality. And we in the bank, we had to shift all our operational capacity to almost exclusively digital mode and to a remote reality. So thanks to our great IT colleagues, they made it happen, and within days, and it worked quite well, I should say. But at the same time, we needed to think and to analyze really the health and the economic ramifications of COVID pandemic, and really to identify the actions we would need to take to support economies, to support businesses, to support health sector by providing additional financing, to safeguard jobs. And we were able to react immediately, and already in March last year, we offered a package and to mobilize a package of 28 billion euros.
But it must have been very hard, because there is a real asymmetry, isn't there, between the needs and the normal way of operating of any multilateral institution, which is obviously, as I say, by its nature, designed to be a long-term partner for development. That must have brought some challenges in itself.
Well, yes, indeed, but I should say that financing, our financing initiatives and different innovative instruments which were developed in the past 10 years, and which we have developed in reaction to the global financial crisis and to the EU debt crisis, really actually helped us to respond to this pandemic rather quickly and decisively, because really we had the necessary experience, being really the biggest multilateral financier and having this long-lasting experience financing counter-cyclical measures and supporting investment when it is really urgently needed.
Well, that's right. Quite a lot of people, of course, have talked about the experience of the financial crisis 2008 and how that helped prepare people. And I remember chairing a panel of Central and Eastern European officials back in June, where people were explicitly saying as well that the region is more accustomed to crisis, and therefore is more accustomed to act quickly, and therefore would see through the COVID crisis better. Now, that was a first half of 2020 argument. Is that still valid, just off the top of your head?
Indeed, our analysis made by our economists, by our econ team, made in the first half of 2020 was indeed that the region was doing much better comparing to other regions, and even facing the challenges, and which was unfortunately not anymore the case in the second half of the year, because we are Europe and the region where we were hit by the second wave quite severely, I should say. But at the same time, I should say that thanks to the support provided, and thanks to the EU response, the joint response program provided, together with national governments measures provided all together, I think that the European economies more or less went through this period more or less, I should say, smoothly. Because I think despite all the difficulties, all the challenges, we all, all the EU institutions and multilateral financiers, together with our peers, with national development banks, etc. I think we managed to unite our efforts in providing the necessary support. I can really very briefly share with you the results of our recent investment survey, which I believe is very interesting, because our survey done by our own team covers 20,000 firms in EU 27, UK and US, and it is very well representing really the situation, and it also covers 700 municipalities in Europe, and it is really having an overview of the investment plans, investment gaps, and the climate change challenges, again versus the COVID challenges as well. So on first side, on company side, we see that 45% of firms expect investment to decline due to COVID. But at the same time, when they are asked the need to transform due to COVID, in medium to long term, 50% of the companies think that they will have to use more digital technology in the future, which is obvious now because of the crisis, and become more innovative.
And here we are doing exactly that, Lilian. I'm glad you mentioned companies and what companies think, because it's inevitable in this crisis that small companies, partly because of the sectors that they operate in, but it's inevitable that small companies generally are hardest hit by the crisis that obviously we're still living through. But they're also often the hardest people to help. So how have you responded specifically for SMEs in Central and Eastern Europe, or in the countries that you cover? Because you're very concentrated now, I know, on the Western Balkans, you personally. So maybe some examples of what you've done there for SMEs.
I will mention, just if you allow me, two more quotations, very interesting one from the survey, which I just wanted to mention. 37% of the companies for which I will mention what we do in EU remain non-digital if we compare it to US, for example. And these are mostly SMEs, on which we will talk later, because they lack skills and capacity to transform. And this is exactly where we do need to invest from now on specifically. And on the other side, 43% of the firms invested already to deal with climate change, which is much higher than US. So this is a very interesting tendency I wanted to mention. And speaking on SMEs, SMEs, they have always been at the heart of EIB's support, and speaking on EIB here, I mean EIB Group, EIB, the bank, and our financing arm, the EIF, European Investment Fund. And especially in these hard times, we are really committed to maximize our support to SMEs, mid-caps, and smaller companies, and to support them to really to extend our support to them to overcome the crisis. Our annual support to SMEs comes at a range of 25 billion euro, which represents something like 35% of the overall volume of our of the bank signatures, and almost 100% of the European Investment Fund activities. So this is very important part of our investment and priorities. And as I said, along with our activities, which we are financing along the route, specifically as immediate response to the crisis that already provided as of March last year, we mobilized targeted support to SMEs together with a specially established pan-European guaranteeing fund, which is aiming to mobilize up to 200 billion euro of investment, targeted to support investment for SMEs, also startups, venture capital, microfinance, micro companies, and etc. Of course, working and supporting with dedicated guarantee schemes, existing programs which we do have in support of companies, ensuring liquidity lines, and providing additional working capital, dedicated asset-backed securities, and many others which we are working with our partners like national promotional banks and through the intermediated lending we do have. So,
well, if that is exactly what I wanted to ask you some more detail on. What are the mechanisms by which all of this massive amount of funding gets to the SMEs? Because obviously the EIB is a very large institution based in one place, and you have thousands and thousands of companies in countries all over Europe. What mechanism do you channel down to those, sometimes really very small companies? Does it go through the national banking sector? Does it go through government agencies? How does that work?
Well, in most of the cases, we do partner with national promotional banks. Also, of course, definitely for the intermediated lending, for commercial banks are really operating in the countries who have their networks, their channels, their offices locally, and who know very well the market. So this is the main channels for which we provide our financing specifically dedicated to SMEs. On government support, of course, we are working with governments, with sovereign and sub-sovereign lending, providing different lending activities, providing and supporting national co-financing for support of delivering and absorbing the European Union funded programs, for example, through specially dedicated program loans, and also supporting local authorities. Another important, I should say, tool in support of local authorities, providing them flexibilities with a framework loan for a certain period of time, providing them flexibility to ensure that we do support different kinds of infrastructure projects alongside of the different investments.
And thinking about those different kinds of intermediaries, have you had to onboard a whole new cohort of, for example, private sector bank or commercial banks in order to get these funds to the places they're needed?
Well, I should say that extending, enlarging partners in all over Europe was seemed to be a challenge. I should say 2015, for example, when the European Fund for Strategic Investments was created.
Yeah.
But I think it is really a very good example of our ability to finance more riskier projects and our ability to leverage private financing, especially in crisis times. Because since then, since 2015 up to now, we managed to mobilize with private sector, with commercial banks, and to mobilize private financing at the amount of 500 billion euro for innovative and green financing in support of SMEs all over Europe. And I mean, we are really proud. And we can see that now FC financing, FC DNA, if I can say it like this, is you can find it in the upcoming InvestEU program. And it will be deployed starting as of this year with the launch of the new programming period and the multi-annual financial framework.
Okay, and we've just got a couple of minutes left. I want to address a point which you touched on already a little bit. Obviously, the EIB aims to be green and to be digital in everything that it does, and to spread that approach, that mindset to all its client institutions, its borrowing institutions. But obviously, the pandemic has given impetus to the digitalization of companies, as you're just discussing. But is there a danger in Central and Eastern Europe, perhaps particularly, which has lagged a little bit on the green side of the sustainable platform? Is there a danger that environmental concerns might get left behind whilst everybody's trying to recover short term?
First, I should say that the European Green Deal, being the most ambitious and I should say the new sustainable growth strategy of the EU, is really a plan which we are fully behind. And being the EU and the EU Climate Bank, we are fully dedicated to support its implementation. And we recently adopted our Climate Bank roadmap, aiming to deliver and to mobilize 1 trillion euro of climate finance to support this environmental sustainability. And as of this year, starting of January this year, all our financing will be Paris aligned. And by 2025, 50% of our lending will be dedicated to climate. But, and here is very important but, this commitment is not at the expense of our commitment to cohesion policy, because we do believe that the twin objectives are mutually supporting and in complementarity, because green recovery is important, but we need to continue our strong support to cohesion regions, to CEE countries and regions, to achieve just transition, especially with special focus, of course, to those regions who are dependent on carbon-intensive industries, and we should be really very much helping them. And so the Just Transition Fund and the Just Transition Mechanism is a very good instrument and a tool. We will play a significant role in all 3 pillars of the Just Transition Mechanism. I won't go into much details now, but we will provide co-financing, lending, support to SMEs, and specific public sector lending as well, within the 3 pillars of the Just Transition in supporting this process, because really maintaining climate smart and green and digital investment, contributing the COVID recovery, and all those investments, of course, they should not done at the expense of really and not supporting the region's vulnerabilities and shocks, and including health, but also much needed infrastructure, connectivity, broadband infrastructure, and everything needed in the region, including the Western Balkans, because we are really keen and dedicated also supporting not only the EU member states and the CEE region, but also the Western Balkans through the forthcoming investment package for the region, 9 billion from IPA, also the Western Balkans Guarantee Facility, together with other facilities, guarantee facility, which is aiming to mobilize additional 20 billion of private and banking financing, supporting the private sector and the investment in the region, so from financing provided by us. So this is in combination, and we have to ensure complementarity between those twin or even triple objectives and needs for the region.
Clearly, Lilyana, is a balancing act being done, and I'm sure you and all of your highly talented colleagues at the EIB are very focused on that. Thank you so much for joining us and for answering these questions. Obviously, it's a moving story. It's changing by the day, but we hope very much to stay in touch and to ask you long before Vienna returns to Vienna how you're getting along again. Thank you very much indeed. The conversation that Lilyana and I have just had leads nicely into the first panel of the day, so please do stay tuned for that. My friend Lucy Fitzgeorge Parker is going to be moderating a discussion on back to the sustainable agenda, but is it different post-COVID? So please do watch that. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much, Mrs. Pavlova. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks very much.